Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and all creatures great and small, it is time for another episode of your favorite podcast, the No Beat Survival Guide. My name is Mike to the Y. Why? Well, hey, it's another day, another episode. Today, it is Adventures in Podfesting. So, what ended up happening is I went down to Orlando, Florida this past weekend to attend Podfest 2026 for basically me and 1,000 of my closest friends. And this was the second Podfest that I've attended down there. And the genesis of the whole story is something to behold, as it were, anyway. I was at my former job one day, that would have been December of 2024, about the beginning of December, and I hadn't done a podcast or had maybe done one in about 3 years. But I kept the account open just in case people wanted to see what this particular story was all about. So I get the email from my good friends at Buzzsprout, who I do my podcast through, and they say, hey, you can go to Podfest 2025 and put in your reasons why you want to go. So my first thought was, there's a Podfest? And I had no idea there was such an animal that, or such a convention of what have you. So I was like, all right, I'll see. Yeah, maybe they'll let me in. They probably won't, but you never know. So you hit the link to Buzzsprout. Why do you want to go to Podfest? So I put in some bull cookie answer. I don't even remember precisely what it was, but I figured that'd be the end of it. So about a week later, I'm at work. I get this email. Hey, you're going to Podfest 2025. Congratulations. However much the ticket was, just get your flight and hotel and, we'll take care of the rest. And I was like, wow, that was, nothing like that had ever really happened to me. But so, thank the world of podcasting that got me to go down to Orlando for probably the first time in about 30 years, I would say. So, got down to the Podfest last year, my first one. Just trying to pick up ideas and, get myself motivated to do more podcasting. And turns out there was a comedy track that had a bunch of, not seminars, I guess, but just panel discussions and Q&As and what have you. So, okay, I went and learned about voiceovers and basically putting comedy into serious subjects. So, you met a lot of great people there, and the one I remember in particular, and forgive me, I don't remember the young lady's name, but she was talking about her sobriety, and this girl was just absolutely gorgeous, probably about 6'2", but had been sober for so many years, and a lot of the podcasts where she talks about the sobriety, some of the funny stories that happened while she was intoxicated and some of the fun things that she's doing now. So it was a great learning experience just for that and doing voiceovers and for basically just keeping humor when there's serious subjects. Hopefully I've done a little bit of that. I can't say I've completely done that, but I've tried to insert my sense of humor into a lot of things, particularly with the podcast. So Now, the next thing that happened, and remember, this was all last year. That wasn't even this year. This year was, we'll get into that, a whole other adventure. But they were also offering an open mic night where you can do 3 minutes of stand-up. I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, I'd love to give that a shot. So I basically kept it to just doing a bunch of jokes. Hopefully some of them were original or variants of other people's jokes that, I'm not lifting verbatim. But, I thought it went pretty well. I was pretty comfortable up there. Of course, I had the nerves before you go up. And me being in community theater, yeah, if you don't got butterflies, you're not... Yeah, I don't know. You're not alive, I don't think. So there's always some nerve going up in front of a live audience. Pardon me, having a lovely sip of the Arnold Palmer today. But I went up there. The professional comedians, quote unquote, they thought I did pretty good. So I was happy with that and just met a whole lot of nice people, and I kept in contact with one in particular, so shout out to Hill Kane. Hope I can use your name on there, but if not, too late. But yeah, just an awesome human being, and it was really a fun experience for that first year, totally going in flying blind, as it were. So I thought that would motivate me to do a couple more podcasts, as it were. But I got stuck in a lot of things this year, particularly losing my job and having my bout with MRSA and just trying to find regular work while I'm working on this, and hopefully, one day, knock on wood, I can make a little money off of this. So, but in any event, I kind of lost the drive or the nerve or whatever it was to do the podcasting again. And obviously last month I got back into it. So this, I believe, is the 4th or 5th episode for season 3. Season 1 did about, I think, 11 or 13 episodes, and just a couple for season 2 because they were so few and far between. But yeah, trying to gain a little momentum here, getting close to a 20th podcast, which, there's people who've done 1,000 podcasts, and I can't even imagine that. But maybe one day I'll get to that point too. That'll be a lot of fun. So in any event, the Buzzsprout sent me another email in, I believe, late November, early December, to, hey, you want to go to Podfest 2026? Enter in and everything. So I put in a little more profound answer, which was, only a touch of horse cookies instead of a huge hunk of horse cookies from the year prior. So, but anyway, I kind of anticipated that they were going to invite me again, because if they invited me on total bull stuff, that they were going to invite me this time when I had a little more thoughtful answer. So they did invite me down. I went and stretched my dollar a little bit, and this was before the scam, which you could hear about in the previous episode. So ended up losing a lot of spending cash from that. But I went shoestring budget for the flight and the hotel. Now, just to kind of back up a hair. The Podfest for this year started on Wednesday and went through Sunday. Okay? And I had a meeting on Wednesday night that I had to attend here at the home base in Columbus. And then I took a red-eye flight, I guess, for lack of a better term. It was a 6 a.m. flight. And, of course, you can't check into your hotel till 3 p.m. So I landed about 8, lugged all my luggage to the Renaissance Hotel by SeaWorld, which I'll tell you how fabulous they were in just a minute, and then go to the hotel that I was at, and then kind of Uber back and forth between the two. So let's back up to the day before my flight. And, of course, it's a 6 a.m. flight. They always tell you, hey, get there a couple hours before, and et cetera, et cetera. So I get up at 2:30 a.m. on Thursday. And as you know, I had it where I've got prosthetics. So, did my shower and shaving, got everything loaded up, zipped up suitcases and what have you. Usually I put on my left prosthetic first. And then I put on my right prosthetic. Had shorts on, so got the shorts, stood up, took a step, and the left prosthetic was not locking. So just to kind of give you an idea, hopefully I can reach this and pull this out. This is one of my spare liners. This is not the A-grade liner, but this is what a locking liner looks like. Thank you for the alliteration. So you can see there's a pin or bolt at the end of it. It's like that on the leg. And in my socket, there's like a little hole. The bolt slides in, and it's supposed to lock into place. So I can walk around free and easy. Well, it was 3 a.m. on Thursday when I realized this was not locking into place. And I looked at my socket and saw that there was no release button there. It somehow popped off. And for those of you who are wondering, with the locking liners, there's a little button on the outside of the socket. You just push in the button and it releases, and then I can take off the legs and be free and easy. Again, it's the equivalent of a woman taking off her bra when she gets home. But in any event, yeah, the leg was kind of sliding up and down, and I really couldn't walk properly. And I'm like, where did I lose this? Did I lose it the night before at the meeting? Or did it pop out here? What in the world happened? And, I woke up to have everything run efficiently. So it was Murphy's Law running amok for me. So that was going on. Loaded up all my stuff somehow with this leg. I kind of dragged my left foot almost like a club foot to make sure it was like at least not popping all the way off. It was sliding off about halfway. So, and the leg did fall off on a couple of occasions. So picture this. I'm going up a flight of stairs with a leg that's partially coming out, trying to carry 2 bags of luggage in 20-degree weather. And it felt like a lot lower than that, even though it wasn't terribly windy. So, tried to load that in, got back downstairs. I tried to rig my socket as much as I could, just kind of putting like a little screwdriver to try and lock it into place, and it wasn't locking. So I end up driving to the hotel by the Columbus airport. And because I reserved a parking spot there, and I do recommend that it's probably a lot cheaper than parking at the airport. So check your local listings, my friends. Anyway, got to the front desk of the hotel. I was still kind of dragging the foot along. It was not in place. And they're like, okay, yeah, just park over here. And so I got my car, parked in a very close spot. And somehow, some way, my leg locked into place. And I'm like, well, this is fantastic. So, I won't have to worry about it again, right? Oh, but there's more to the story, my friends. So, got on that 6 a.m. flight. I actually got to be able to cut through. That's one of the perks of being handicapped, my friends. They'll put you, they will shove you to the front of the line so you don't have to go zigzagging around the security check or anything like that. So, got through pretty quickly. Obviously got a little breakfast to snack on before we got going. Flight went well. I had Spirit Airlines. I haven't had a problem with Spirit Airlines, so take it for what it's worth. It's obviously an econo airline, but they've done me well so far. And I won't mention the other airline that I had taken at one point and will never fly them again, but it's not a major one. It's one of the econo ones, so we'll just leave it at that. And they begin with the letter F. And it rhymes with Frontier. So, got off the flight. My good friend Hill picks me up in her rented Mini Cooper. After a little confusion, I was down on the bus level and not on the pickup level, so a couple minutes delay, but got down, started attending the Podfest. And again, everybody was just super nice. Got to see some old friends, meet some new friends. So, after the morning into the afternoon was going great. I was like, okay, it's about 2:30, quarter to 3. I'll get an Uber and go over to my hotel and just get everything laid out. I was gonna nap for about an hour or so, head back. So here was the mistake I made when I got to my hotel. Which, by the way, I went to Suburban Studios in Orlando, which is more of an extended stay hotel, but I got it for uber cheap, so no complaints there outside of their Wi-Fi sucking. But anyway, so when I laid down to take a nap, I made the full mistake of taking off both of my legs. Oh boy. So, wake up, getting ready to order the Uber, get my legs back on, the left leg sliding out again. I'm like, this is definitely not good. So, I got over to the Renaissance, kind of dragged my way in. I was definitely walking at tortoise-like speed. And got to the Bellman's area. And I go, do you guys have a maintenance man who can possibly rig up my legs so it'll stay locked in? Not quite like that, but I just said, hey, I got an issue with the leg. Can you get a repairman? So they got a security guard. His name was Pompeo, by the way. What an absolute nice guy. And just super down to earth. Was very helpful. Got a maintenance guy to try and rig it up and what have you. It didn't really work. So I asked for a wheelchair. They were kind enough to get me a wheelchair, even though I wasn't a guest at that hotel. And they said, yeah, write down your name and number so in case we do need that for an actual guest. Okay, fine. So, yeah, basically from about 5 o'clock on to about 10 o'clock or so, I was in a wheelchair for Podfest. Sorry about that. I was in a wheelchair for Podfest the rest of Thursday night. So that was really a slow trog, but the highlight of the evening was getting to meet a gentleman named Kevin Smith. And he had a documentary out about the simple act of kindness. And you wouldn't believe how profound and riveting that documentary was. Because the simple act of kindness that was done to him was somebody returning his lost wallet from a grocery store. And that triggered him to look out for more acts of kindness to basically spread the word. And he's basically on a worldwide mission now to get leaders of governments to governors, mayors, anything. And what he had done is went from his home base in York, Pennsylvania, and basically spread it across the country, making talks about doing acts of kindness. And I ended up asking a question basically about the courage it takes these days to do an act of kindness. And, I think he instantly took to me, I took to him. I think we're going to end up being very good friends. I took a selfie with him, sent him the picture, and one day I would like to interview him on this podcast he kind of said something to me the day after that definitely, I don't know if it struck a nerve, but it definitely got me thinking about my faith. Well, and something that happened to him that he didn't go into detail, but told me in general that definitely piqued my interest. So, Kevin, if you're out there, I'm going to give you a call probably or text you in about a week or so, just to, one, make sure you're cool, and two, to kind of inquire about what you told me. So hopefully he will let me know, and again, I would love to talk to him about it, first in private and then possibly on the air. But Kevin, thank you so much for such a wonderful documentary, and just to remark on what a great human being you are. And I've met you for probably the whole of 5 minutes, and I can just tell. It's just one of those things. So, what a camper to the Friday night I had. Even though I was I'm sorry, that was the Thursday night. But, what a camper to that. So, Friday comes around. I had found a prosthetic clinic that hopefully could get the problem fixed, and hopefully it was an easy fix. And you'll find out later it was. But I went to a local prosthetic down in Orlando. Got Ubered to the office only to find out it's by appointment only. So, grabbed his card, gave him a call, explained the situation, and he was very nice about it. But, unfortunately, he said, after I'd sent a picture of the issue, that, yeah, I can order that part. It would come in on Monday. And I'm leaving Sunday. So, unfortunately, that was no good. So, I Ubered back to the Renaissance Hotel where the Podfest was happening, and I go, you know what, I can't do the wheelchair. I'm gonna walk. If it takes me 10 minutes to get 500 feet, so be it. So I managed that fairly well. And again, it's just one of those things. But I ended up attending a couple of interesting seminars. One of which was where I got to meet the brother of Vanna White. His name is Chip White, and he's got a podcast called Relatively Speaking. So I haven't heard it yet, but I want to give that a listen. And that I do have a famous relative who's long gone, but it was Rocky Marciano. He died before I was born. But he wanted to get me on there just to kind of go over some of the stories that I've been told. So, but in any event, it was a really cool meeting him. And again, so many people just, you learn so much stuff at a Podfest. And a lot of it is marketing, where to platform the podcast, where to get monetized. And hopefully, again, one day, hope I do get monetized. So I got over to the comedy track again. We were doing some improv stuff. So, again, just a fun time. And to meet the host of the comedy track, his name is Kimbro. And fantastic guy. Paul Votto, shout out to him. He helps run one of the improv sessions. So, had a good time at the comedy track on Friday. They were doing a couple more on Saturday. And again, they did the open mic night on Saturday. So, all this time on Friday, I'm kind of limping along and trying not to let the socket fall out of the liner and me taking a lovely tumble. So probably around 1 or 2 o'clock, I said I had enough. So I went back over to the Bellman station, and they're like, let's see if we could get a repair guy and see what they can do. So it was a guy named Lan, who I had seen around the hotel kind of cleaning and fixing things the day before. So he came over, he kind of looked at it, and I said, well, is there any sort of rod or something that can hold in place? And like if you have like a rubber mallet that can just kind of keep the lock in place. So he found a little rod. It was probably about that big, that basically fit in the hole. He started hammering away, and I was like, oh no, it's not working. And so he tried another one. It was kind of hammering it in, and then he was kind of fiddling around looking for something else to put in there. And I stand up, I lift my left leg, and hey, it's staying in place. I go, yeah, I think you fixed it. He goes, no, I don't think so. I go, no, look it. And I'm lifting my left leg. It's not falling down or anything. So I was like, yeah, I think you fixed it. Thanks so much. So that is my shout out to the Renaissance Hotel at SeaWorld in Orlando, Florida. Thank you guys so much. Even though I wasn't a guest there, I was a participant in the conference, and you guys went way above and beyond the call of duty to, get me literally on my feet. So I was walking at a normal gait again. So I was happy with that, and I basically vowed to myself, once it got fixed, I am not taking this leg off until I get back home to Columbus, because then I could get some people to get this fixed for me. So, we go into Saturday. And Saturday was an absolute blast. For those of you who are looking at me on YouTube right now, I do have a post of the 3 minutes of stand-up comedy I did there, which I did a couple my own jokes, and then I did impersonations of other people telling jokes. So, and I'll kind of leave that to your imagination, and you can see how well or how bad I did. Please comment if you do see that on YouTube. It's Mike to the Y does stand up, so, or something along those lines. Check it out. It's I almost didn't like it at first, and then I kind of looked at it again because somebody taped it for me, and okay, yeah, I thought I did okay. So again, I sent it to a whole bunch of people, and for those friends of mine who did not get it, I tried to send it to you, but your phone, or you didn't have the phone capacity, I guess, to take the PDF. So, but I will be sending one out to, I'll be sending the YouTube link out to my good friend Maureen, who's in the hospital. Please say a couple prayers for her, because she's already beaten cancer twice and maybe going through a third round of it. So please, Mo, get better. It's the world's a much duller place without you in it. So so in any event, got through Saturday okay. I did the stand up. I went to go check out another couple of other sessions, the closing remarks, and then there was a big social gathering and dance party at night where, yeah, by the time I got to the food line, there was like a couple little things of a quesadilla left. So I took a piece of that and I was like, well, I'm full. I ended up leaving early and just chilled out at my hotel. So Sunday morning comes around and I'm heading back. Now, obviously hotel checkout time is either 10 or 11 a.m. to give time to clean the rooms and turn them over, and etc., etc. So I left at 11. My flight back to Columbus is at 9 or 8:55 p.m. That's a long time to wait. So I actually went cheap and found out that there was a bus stop right in front of my hotel that took a direct line to the airport, or took a line to the airport. Let's put it like that. So, for those of you not familiar with Orlando, the main strip of road is International Drive, and that leads to Disney and Universal and SeaWorld, etc., etc., etc. So, got on the bus, okay, there's like 3 or 4 people on there. This was about 11 a.m. or so. And go through International Drive, pass up the main theme parks and what have you. And then there was a park and ride over by the Hilton by Disney, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but there's a huge park and ride there. So there was about a half dozen buses and people transferring in and out and what have you. So I was the last one left on the bus. And a lady came on there who, I'm assuming she wasn't homeless, but wasn't obviously not hygienically kept, as it were. And, with this schnoz right here, you thought I would have smelled it, but the bus driver wouldn't let her on the bus because she said she soiled herself, the passenger. So she basically had to call for a replacement bus and this, that, and the other thing, because the passenger ended up sitting down, and, at the time I didn't smell anything. So the passenger ended up leaving the bus. The bus driver was kind enough to give me a transfer and said, okay, I'm going to get another bus here, so, you can wait outside. So I finally enjoyed a little Orlando sunshine, even though it was Friday and Saturday. It was about 25 to 30 degrees in the morning. So with Orlando, you can tell who the natives are when it gets anything below 50, because they're bundled up in winter coats and sweatshirts and etc. It's kind of like Vegas. So, but anyway, so went to go sit at the bench. I kind of passed by the other passenger who allegedly saw themselves and got a good whiff, and okay, I think she did something at least. So, and it kind of harkened me back to the days when I took the bus to downtown Columbus for work, and the one day I was coming home, bus full of people. I mean, so people were standing and all the seats were taken, and some poor old guy I don't know if he tried to let one go as a gas, and it didn't turn out that way. And everybody could kind of smell it, and he just waited for the next stop and hurried off the bus. And I felt so bad for that guy. But anyway, enough about the poopy stories. So got on the bus. New bus, clean, ready to go to the airport. And it was probably about noonish by that time. So, yeah, little did I know how long that bus route really was, because I didn't get to the airport till about 1:30 or so, which, you know what, in this case, it ended up being fantastic. If I was in a rush for the bus to get there, yeah, I'd have probably been pretty ticked off. So, but that, I should kind of assume that, because I think the buses up here in Columbus are probably about the same way. It takes a hot minute to do all the stops and picking up and dropping off and what have you, and trying to scooch lanes and going into certain companies, or they went through the Florida Mall and all this. So anyway, got there about 2 o'clock. So I'm like, all right, this is good. I'll get some food. I'll get a couple snacks. I'll get a lovely beverage and wait for this plane. And in the meantime, football's coming on. So it kind of timed out perfect that I got to see both of the divisional games on Sunday. Unfortunately, I had Houston in a pool, and yet you probably know what the result is of that. So, in my waiting time, and I'm just kind of watching football and chilling and listening to babies crying, wailing and gnashing their teeth, and people speaking Spanish that I caught a couple words of. So gringo, I believe, was one of them. No, I'm just teasing. So I kind of look at my socket, and they had the guy had put the rod in there, probably about half-inch sticking out. So what do? I kind of fiddle around with it, and it pushes all the way in, and guess what? My leg is sliding in and out again. Luckily, I didn't have to go anywhere other than getting onto the plane, off of the plane, and back to my car. So, got on the flight, no problem there. Flew home, landed. Yeah, I think the plane ran about 7 minutes late. So that's probably the first delayed flight I've had in a long, long time. And got home, it was probably around, I want to say about 11 or quarter after 11. And I get up out of my seat, and my left foot kind of caught in the base of the seat in front of me. Leg goes off, or socket goes off. Leg does not come with it, and Mike falls down right in the middle of the aisle. Luckily, it wasn't too bad, and everybody kind of got alarmed, and, oh, man, are you all right? I go, got me the enthusiasm, as always. So, put my leg back on, and, yeah, just basically took the slow lane, and I was like, guys, come on, just pass me up. You know, I don't want to hold you back any more than I already did. So, yeah, got my way out of the airport ramp to the gate, and there happened to be somebody there with a wheelchair and somebody with the little airport golf cart. It's like, oh, hop on. So, very nice gentleman. Got me on, got another older lady on the back seat with her daughter who was taking care of her. So that was one of the things. I ended up having to move a row back so they could have seats together in the row in front of me. So that they appreciated the gesture. So I was like, that's the least I can do for you guys. So anyway, rolled out to where baggage claim was. Luckily, didn't have to claim a bag. That would have been just something else altogether. So, managed to drag myself again to the shuttle that would take me back to the Marriott. And again, shout out to Columbus Airport Marriott. Very gracious people. So, they were very understanding. Lost my leg again without falling, trying to get into the shuttle. So, took a second to get that back on and get adjusted. So, limped all the way to my car, loaded up, drove home, and I was like, yeah, Monday I've got to get something done here. So, I called up a friend of mine named Alex, who is now working at, or actually owns a company with his wife called Prosthetics Shop, and that's PROSTHETIX and then shop.com. So if there's anybody out there who's an amputee and they're looking for supplies, go check out that website, and you can tell them Mike to the Y sent you. So, called him up on a Monday, and he's like, oh, yeah, I'm home with the kids because they're off school, and that's when I realized it was Martin Luther King Day. So, or as they say in Coming to America, you deny me Martin Luther King. Yes, I did. I was going around the corner in Memphis, minding my own business, boom, got hit right in the chest. I look up, it's Dr. Martin Luther King. I said, Dr. King. He said, oh, I'm sorry, I thought you were someone else. But anyway, and speaking of the Rocky Marciano, what about Rocky Marciano? There they go. Every time somebody talk about boxing, some white boy gotta pull Rocky Marciano out the butt. So Monday had laundry to do. So did that, dragging the old left club foot along. So no incidents there. Got a lot of what I needed to get done. And then today, Tuesday, or it's now, is it Wednesday yet? It just hit Wednesday. Awesome. So the comedy podcast should be dropping by now. But anyway, Tuesday comes along. I went to Nationwide, and then when I got home, I did a little shopping and went home, and so I got a message from my friend Alex at Prosthetic Shop. ProstheticShop.com. And he said, yeah, come on around. And he looked at it and said, easy fix. So he had the part with him. It took about 5 minutes to get it fixed. Stayed there half hour because we were just talking about the company we used to work for, which I still recommend the products to any amputee out there, or any clinic that may happen to be listening in. I work for Willowwood. They're kind of like the distant third of the big two other prosthetic part companies, but they make quality products. So, whatever personal issue I have with them, my professional opinion is, go with Willowwood, because I've been able to walk around pretty well, minus this weekend, for good 3 or 4 years. So, highly recommend their products. So, in any event, we were talking about the company, and I got up, I walked like normal, and it brought me here today. So, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And again, I want to thank you guys for checking out the downloads. I am on Spotify, the audio version. Video version you'll see on YouTube, but I'm also on iHeartRadio if you have that. I'm going to try and work in getting on Apple Podcasts, because I got a lot of stuff on here. Well, maybe not as many as some, but I'm feeling I'm closing in on I think this is my 19th podcast. Either 18 or 19, but yeah, hey, I'll get to 25. I'll try and get myself to 50, and hopefully you guys are still not bored to tears by my stories and what have you. But next time, hopefully I'll get you a review of the movie Song Sung Blue, unless something else happens that's kind of fascinating and piques my interest. But again, I want to thank you guys for listening. If you cared to comment, you can always comment on the YouTube channel, or you can email me. It's Mike to the Y, so MIKETOTHE, the letter Y, at gmail.com. Put no feet as the subject, and I'll be able to read your comments and hopefully respond back to you. I will try and do it in a kind way, via the way of Kevin Smith. So, but thank you guys again for watching. I think I've rambled on a little too long here. I'm trying to keep things to a half hour if I can help it, but right now I'm at 47 or so, but that's okay. Hopefully I told a really good story here. But thank you to all the people at Podfest. Thank you to those at the Renaissance Hotel Orlando by SeaWorld. And thanks to the fine folks at Spirit Airlines. Once again, have yet to have an issue with Spirit. So the flights have been quite smooth, or as smooth as can be considering some of the weather coming back here to our lovely 20 degrees. But again, thank you so much. Thank you for listening. And I would love to see you guys back again in the future. And we'll lead off with that, and I'll bid you farewell, my friends. You take care. And remember to be the surprise onion ring in somebody's french fries. Have a good night.